And what we will be doing is talking through, excuse me one moment, we'll be talking through the day in the life of bridging the gaps between business and technology. And with that, I'd like to kick it off with having Rob introduce a bit more.
Yeah, appreciate it. So Don and I thought this first slide was appropriate because, as Matthew referenced, we have seas of change going on in the insurance industry, right? And the role that Don and I play at Cisco is literally building that bridge across the line of business and IT and back and forth. And for some of you, for some of us in the room, that bridge spans a stream, and you can walk across the line of business and be pretty connected. For some of us, it spans a river. For some of us, it's a large lake. And for some of us, it's an ocean, right, with a lot of waves. And so everything that Don and I do as part of the business transformation team with Cisco is aimed at connecting technology solutions that IT enables with business solutions that the business needs to drive business outcomes. So you're going to see that referenced in the topics that we go through with you today to launch the CIO Insurance Summit. Quick introduction. So my name is Rob Cornwall. I'm the Insurance Practice Lead for Cisco, and I really come from the line of business. So I don't have specifically a technical background. I do have a marketing, sales, service, and distribution background for all product lines, auto, home, life, including banking products and mutual funds for some of the largest insurers in the industry. So I'm always looking at things from that business point of view.
Right. And I'm Don Canning, and I'm the insurance industry architect playing the IT role. My background is primarily in banking and insurance, where I actually worked for a bank that starts with the letter C in the New York City area, and also spent 7 years at a carrier. My role is primarily to enable the business to have the ability to research and drive reporting and analytics on massive scales, credit card databases. On the insurance side, actuarial systems, calculating the likelihood of black swan scenarios over long periods of time. So I provide more or less the infrastructure across underwriting, claims processing, and actuarial sciences.
I might be looking at a business need that we see happening in the industry, a trend, and then going to Don and others on his team and saying, how would we enable this? Or how would partners enable this? How would technology enable this? On the flip side, on any given day, Don would have some great new technology solution. By the way, you're going to see his vision for one today. And then I would ask, so what's that do for the business? In the end, what's the outcome that that's enabling? And that's kind of the back and forth that you're going to see us do as we go through 2 or 3 major trends that we see in the industry. And so we picked a couple of hot topics that I'm sure you can relate to. And with a pretty short period of time, we're going to try to move through this pretty quickly to set the stage for those important side conversations that Matthew mentioned. We hope that what we talk about in this session will drive the conversations when we meet one-on-one or in the halls. So we're going to start with customer experience. And we all know this because we all live and breathe it and brought it with us today. Today's consumers live in an anytime, anywhere, any device world. One thing I like to point out that this is if you look at insurance and financial services, in the past, customers' expectations and their experience with us as an insurance provider was mostly measured against our competition. Today, that bar has been raised because the way we get our news and information, the way we shop for retail products, and the way we access our entertainment has changed the way customers interact with service providers, right? So now that's moving into insurance and financial services, and I'm sure all you feel that. So any device, anywhere, anytime. We have actually put together a video that is designed to just show a few snippets of a day in the life of the consumer and or the insurance carrier in ways that we're seeing these interactions change.
Today's consumers live in an anytime, anywhere, any device world. How we receive our news and information, entertainment, and shop for retail items impacts our expectations of how we interact with others. The fact is, the same can be said for how consumers of all ages and lifestyles look to do business with insurance and financial services providers. Young professionals, for example, want instant access to everything. Many prospective young customers are searching online for a quick quote for auto insurance from a carrier website on their mobile devices. If they get stuck, they now expect real-time enabled customer service so they can buy now. The odds of them buying on the spot greatly improve if they can click Live Assist and interact via video chat with a contact center rep. Once the deal is done, the young adult new customer may even tweet about the experience he just had saving money on car insurance from his phone on the way to work. Growing families are busy from sunrise to sunset. Their needs are broader. They are suddenly considering things like life insurance to protect the family, financial planning for college or retirement, and other financial needs. When mom is researching life insurance plans for her growing family from carrier websites, it's critical to make it easy for her to navigate her way through the process. By allowing her to click on a button to schedule a virtual review with an agent, mom is able to get the advice she needs when she needs it, and in a way that is convenient with her busy schedule. Her stress disappears. Later that night, after the kids are in bed, her husband joins her for their virtual review via their iPad. They really value the ability to interact with an agent who can easily share his desktop information and bring in a remote expert from the carrier's sales support center to help answer their questions. After a brief online face-to-face interaction, the electronic signature seals the deal, and the couple can rest easy at night after a seamless online insurance experience. And finally, business owners have a very different need for interacting with insurance companies. Bill, for example, is an independent agent looking to place specialty coverage for his veterinarian customer. He arrives at his office and goes directly to his desktop to access a company's agent portal. He sees that there's an underwriter available to connect now, clicks on the button, and quickly engages in a virtual interaction. The underwriter sends Bill the right form he'll need to place the right coverage for his customer in real time, and everybody wins. Based on Bill's ease of doing business with this particular carrier, including the real-time assistance he received from the underwriter, Bill is likely to look to place future business with this carrier first. At the end of the day, all three scenarios lead to successful outcomes because of great customer experiences in ways that customers expect in today's world. Enhance your customer experience. Differentiate yourself from the competition. Attract new customers by engaging them through virtual interactions. Cisco, changing the way we live, work, and play, and the way our customers do business with their customers.
So the video depicts what we're seeing as a significant trend coming across the insurance industry, and that is virtual interactions for insurance. And those can happen with the customer. They can happen through digital channels and mobile channels. They can happen through an agency distribution force, and they can happen internally. I'm going to show you a real-life example here in a second, but I want to give you my position on this. So I grew up in insurance as part of an agency distribution model insurance carrier. In fact, I was a multi-line agent running my own agency. So some have said, does the insurance agent go the way of the travel agent? And does the insurance industry completely change and we no longer need agents? And as we can see, do the direct models win? Well, I firmly believe that it's not one or the other, or it's and. So the difference in that equation is it's not or, it's not web or contact center or agent or mobile, it's and it's connecting those in a way that makes sense for the customer, and I think the video depicted a little bit of that. By the way, we're talking about the endpoint. What happens when the customer's interacting with the company? There's a lot going behind the scenes, right, that we're going to talk about from a technology standpoint. Don's going to dig into more. I did want to just show you a couple screenshots. So we have this type of capability being worked on in most of the major insurance companies today. Also, many financial services companies that were just represented here the last couple of days. Many of those are under NDA, so we can't share the secret sauce. But what we can do is talk about a real-life example that's come out with American Express and kind of talk about the trends that we see coming down the pike. So this is an iPad application for American Express. What I'd call out on this one is in their application, the first way to connect with them is video chat. So up on the left. as the customer clicks on the iPad to enable a video chat, they get a little notice here that says your video chat's about to begin. You'll have the option of whether or not you want to share your video. So customers want that choice of, am I putting myself on video or just seeing the contact center rep? And this is a really important point behind the scenes. While that video chat is being spun up, some great things are happening, especially in the precision routing space. Because with analytics, we can have context of where that person was, where that customer was in the application, what they were doing, who they are, and perhaps what their need is, and how we precision route that to the right contact center agent. And then you can see what the video interaction looks like. It's branded. They haven't left the application itself. You can see the contact center rep there with American Express behind them. In this case, the customer video is being shown as well. By the way, as they're here, it's beyond video. It's let's navigate around the site. Let me bring up your statement and we can scroll through questions you have. We can annotate, we can co-browse. It's really an immersive virtual interaction. And then it ends as simply as that. So that's what it looks like in real life. For this segment, I just wanted to call out some trends that we're seeing in the industry of how this same technology and customer user experience is playing out. So the first place that we're seeing it play out is internally. Field claim reps connecting with subject matter experts back in the home office or somewhere else. There's a significant knowledge transfer occurring in your claims line of businesses where experienced field claim reps are moving out of the workforce, and we're trying to attract new young claim reps in. This allows that young field claim rep, or maybe even just a customer specialist, to be tethered out in the field to a subject matter expert. Next, most of us in our processes, if you sell property and casualty, there's some sort of follow-up process with body shops and contractors that typically today involves the field claim rep going back out, spending time and energy readjusting that claim. Now we're looking at ways to do that more virtually as well, and that plays out on the contractor side too. Next is moving to the customer, where today, if you get in an accident, you can go to your smartphone, you can get your insurance card, you can click on the application for your insurance card, spin up real-time assistance for first notice of loss support. We used to measure insurance claims handling in weeks, sometimes months. If everything goes well, days. There are carriers out there today measuring it in minutes, and the record I've heard is 26 minutes from first notice of loss to claim handling. You saw in the video the click to connect from the website. This is important because insurance shoppers today are online at some point in time in their journey, and we've got to lower that quote abandonment and get them connected in the right way. And this, with the click of a button, allows them to do so. And then that insurance agent isn't irrelevant. They don't go the way of the travel agent. Virtual interactions with their customer is a natural extension of the trusted advisor relationship that they have today. It's just done differently. You don't have to waste 2 hours on your Saturday to go into your agent's office and sit across from them on a desk. You can interact with them as you choose. And last but not least, we've seen these waves kind of move across retail banking and wealth management, and banks are shrinking their retail footprint. They don't have all the subject matter experts they need sitting there in the bank all the time. They're leveraging them more efficiently through remote expert capabilities and having that on-demand subject matter expert when they need it. This is all part of, remember I mentioned it's not direct or web or mobile or agent, it's and in a connected way. Omni-channel for insurance. A connected customer experience across access points with a 360 view of the customer. It transforms the way we do business and transforms the way we do IT. So Don, that's the business side. What's all that mean from an IT perspective?
Wow. Is that a list or what, right? Think about all of the things that we just connected. Legacy systems, mobility, the data center, branch offices, the contact center. It's just everything, right? So one of the things that you need to think about when approaching something like this is who are some of the partners that can help accelerate the go-to-market strategy. Take a piece of what it is you're looking to accomplish and then use some of their expertise in terms of what is the business architecture? What's the cultural changes? What's the technology? And one of the partners that I'm working with is Pega, and they have a BPM architecture, which it's like an architectural shim, if you will, that fits in between the legacy systems and the user interfaces. And so what they can help with is formulating the omni-channel strategy, next best action. And what next best action is about is sometimes the exact thing that the customer is looking for is not available or it's not well suited. And so what the business rule engines do is they help guide not only the video telepresence interaction, but the transactions themselves into a fulfillment. And that's ideally the broader sense of what omnichannel is about, is the fulfillment. What I'd like to do now is take you into a little bit of a deep dive of the architectural sense, the bridge, if you will, between the business requirements and how does the technology facilitate that. Huge inflection in the industry right now. Matt's quote, next 3 to 5 years, 86% or 83%, I think the number was, right? We'll see that the CEOs or the CIOs think that technology will have that impact. Well, certainly there isn't a huge inflection. New business models. What do you need? Scalable infrastructure. The days of the CapEx model running to the CFO and asking for money to buy equipment, plug it in, and it just takes too long. No one really cares after a certain point. New applications, analytics. We see analytics was, I think, #1 on the trends list, and what Matt showed, and security. Bottom line is security. If these things aren't secure, what's the purpose? You end up in the papers, and it takes years to build a reputation. It takes a moment to lose it, right? So security is the underpinning to all of these things. So what is it that we really need to facilitate all these business architectures that Rob was talking about? Well, it's IT as a service, really. I see it in the cloud, in the data centers, in the branch offices, bring your own device and mobility. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a journey, a little bit of a peeling of the onion, if you will, and I'm going to show you how our next generation of technology, which is known as application-centric infrastructure, begins to facilitate this journey and puts in place an architecture that can be placed on top of your legacy systems and addresses cloud, the agencies, as well as mobility. I know it's a big, tall order, right? So come with me on this journey. So the first thing is, what are the principles of operation here in terms of what are you trying to do? Well, we want to unify the physical and the virtual. The other thing is that applications are becoming aware. Imagine, if you will, an earthquake happening in California. Carriers should know what's their likelihood of exposure to that part of the country, and wouldn't it be fantastic if the Internet of Everything and network sensitivity, the news, it all converges, and the network and the infrastructure responds by putting the right applications up and running, the right number of claims processing, the right number of first notice of loss capabilities out there, application aware, applications talking to the infrastructure, network aware. It's opening up that bandwidth. It's routing the traffic in the best optimal way at the most cost-effective way, and we'll talk about that as well. So what do these things do? They deliver security, scalability without sacrificing performance, provides deep visibility and telemetry, which means you can see what's going on. Everything today is components, and you really can't see. We need to bring that all together. Application aware, dynamic application policy models. Again, I just talked about first notice of loss, how it needs to burst, right? When there's a big event, it needs to contract when there's nothing really happening. And so programmability across data centers, wide area networks, accesses, we'll get into this in the endpoint groups. So what does this mean? It means that we're connecting, Cisco is connecting the virtual and the physical. We're making applications connect with the infrastructure, mobility. So with Cisco, you have a vision and a strategy. Without Cisco, you're compiling these components and cobbling them together yourself, and it's hard to see what's going on. Now, here's the conceptual model where it starts. We have to start big, high level. At the top, applications, creating a catalog of what it is an insurance company needs to have gathered and cataloged. Next is we need to unify these things, unify the platforms, unify the applications with the infrastructure. And at the bottom, we have infrastructure. And then we have the great game changer, services and the cloud. How do we connect that? Well, you'll begin to hear with software-defined networks, SDN, which our flavor of that is, which is much more enhanced, is ACI, application-centric infrastructure. And you'll start seeing the terms northbound and southbound connectors. And essentially, what northbound is, it's taking its role from the applications into the unified platform, and southbound, it's the infrastructure. It's the CPUs, the disks, the networks, these things. And then we need a connector to the cloud. We need an interconnector that bolts us into the cloud so that if we want to burst a process out into the cloud, we want to do that. So this at the highest level is the business value creation model that I talk to partners with, I talk to customers with. So here we have some buckets, if you will. We want to have a catalog, a categoric catalog. First thing is hypervisors. If you're not familiar with a hypervisor, it's essentially a mechanism that launches operating systems. And it could be VMware, it could be Red Hat, it could be Microsoft's Hyper-V. Open source, Linux, Windows, you name the operating system, we have to facilitate it. You have business processes and enterprise applications. You run SAP in-house, right? You would run many different claims, underwriting, actuarial systems. We would just catalog all of these things and when they run, how they run, what's the environment that they need. Next thing is we start saying, gee, what about these user-based insurance initiatives that are out there and telematics? How do we profile that? How do we set up environments where that's also governed? So we would do that in the third category. Industry apps, Salesforce.com, that's outside your firewall. Cloud configurations. Maybe you want to try Amazon, right? Web services. Maybe you want to try Microsoft Azure. How would you govern that internally from your private cloud on-premise strategy than to expand that outward? That would be interesting. And then lastly, you have infrastructure, contact center. This is where your CSRs are, your customer service reps, telepresence. Rob was showing you all of these applications that are passing through real-time telepresence. That's got to be configured into the design for service level agreements. And lastly, collaboration. Just the act of having real-time connection, such as IM, WebEx, all of the collaboration tools. So this is where the catalog is on the top. And on the bottom, we would then have, okay, here's the data center, unified compute system, routers, and then your physical things, access, wired, mobility, bring your own device to work. And lastly, most importantly, security. But security, cyber security that have the ability to prevent before, after, and during type of attacks. And we have invested a lot of investment in this space. So we're peeling the onion here. But what drives this? This is the key. Our application policy infrastructure controller. It's essentially a rules-based engine. We're creating a rules-based engine for infrastructure. Just the way Pegasystems created a rules-based engine for business processes, we're doing it for the infrastructure. And that's the key that turns the lock. And all of these areas then start to work together in a collaborative harmony. One of the things I'd like to do then is start to talk about this as we begin to play zones, if you will. The green is the home zone here, if you will, the home office, the private cloud. The yellow would be the cloud capabilities. And then along the top would be kind of your distribution branches, your MGAs, your agencies, all of those types of things, right? You're out. So what I'd like to do is to talk about these things in these three basic categories, because this covers 90% of the scenarios that most carriers are struggling with. Now I'd like to take you into, this is the same structure of applications, the APIC, and the data center components. And what we could do is start to build out where we're going to place applications. And then we have something really cool, which is flash memory. This is real-time memory that you can now program into the solution. So if you have an actuarial run that's taking, I don't know, 30, 60 hours running in your shop, and you then configure it to connect with Flash, you can have 100x lift on that by just having Flash memory, real solid-state memory, as part of the configuration. We're defining these capabilities as a utility, and it can be programmed at runtime to use these services. It's a whole new world. It's really a beautiful architecture. So this is the symbol for the APIC, essentially. And what we're going to do is we're going to launch into the data center. This is an empty data center, nothing happening. We're going to launch Red Hat, the hypervisor, and we're going to launch the applications. And this is how it goes. We're starting to fill the hotel up with applications. That's DB2. And we're going to have Red Hat, and we're going to put Hadoop in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to layer. We also Cisco invested in data virtualization. And what data virtualization does, it accesses data at rest and in flight. Because if you think about an architecture that needs to respond real time to applications or world events, and things are happening, you need to have a hypervisor and a data virtualization, we call it composite, that accesses usable by applications. So next is we're moving Windows and SQL Server. We have a team that wants to do telematics. It's an experimental project an insurance company wants to launch, and we want to put that up in the data center. Well, in this particular diagram, the data center is full. We don't have any room to put this application up, right? So what do? Well, maybe we can try using the cloud. And what we have is a component called the Intercloud. Cisco has a component that allows the bridging of your private on-premise cloud to the public clouds, the private clouds, the hybrid clouds. Now, what I'd like to do is just walk through this a little bit here, these cloud components. What do you have? The basic services here, Office 365. A lot of customers and carriers are starting to use Microsoft Office, but from the internet, right, from the cloud. So there it is. And then they have Azure, which is their application development environment where they run applications. Salesforce.com, YouTube. YouTube is one of the hottest applications out there for younger generations learning how to use processes and using these YouTubes as learning exercises and tools. So one of the huge bandwidths that we're seeing in our networks is the explosion of YouTube as learning tools. Amazon Web Services. We have insurance companies that are using Amazon Web Services to do actuarial high-performance computing, believe it or not. And we have Cisco Cloud Services. Well, we have virtual desktops, WebEx, collaboration, and video. So if you don't want to put these services up in your shop, we'll host them in ours. So what we do is we say, let's set up from the APIC, we set up an industry application from the internet of Windows Azure, because we want those telematics guys to get up and running. We then wrapper that in a cybersecurity protection ring fence. We then put up the application fabric, and then we put up the SQL Azure. And we do this within moments. And so what we've done essentially is we've created an extension of our data center into the cloud, into Azure, by putting up a development environment for these programmers to do telematics through a virtual LAN, and it's elastic. It happens in hours, and they're up and running. And you're running in an OpEx model versus a CapEx model.
So from a line of business standpoint, I see the industry or a competitor going a certain way, and I see an application that I need on my mobile app or with my business process, and I go to my friends in IT and I say, this is what I need, and Don, though he's my friend, says, Rob, I am so overwhelmed with just keeping the lights on and running the business, and we've got so much stacked with our initiatives that you're 18 months out. And by the time I get to the provisioning of what I need from a business standpoint, it's already moved. The competition's already moved and the trend already is. So when you talk about hours instead of days or months, that gets my attention from the line of business.
Absolutely. And it's done in a safe and secure way, Rob, where you can extend out to the internet. Likewise, we could do the same thing with Amazon. We could define an Amazon virtual machine starting on premise, going through the gateway, and then we could wrapper that in security. We then launch the elastic compute cloud that they have, and then we can have their relational data systems and we ring fence that with a virtual LAN. It's the same subnet numbers as what's on premise, and the people that are accessing the applications, they hardly even know they're going out to the cloud. They're not leaving your firewall and going through theirs. They're just virtually going right through the network. This is the hottest product right now. This is just taking the industry by storm, because it just allows the fungibility of your data center to just dynamically expand through a modeling capability. And then this will also do accounting for you, and then you know who is running it and where. One of the biggest exposures CIOs have is when a firm like KPMG, Deloitte, or PwC come in and do an audit, and they're shocked when between 12 to 18% of the traffic is going out the firewalls, and they don't know that they're accessing Azure and all these other capabilities. But what we're doing here is we're providing a safe gateway that's secure, that allows them the exact same services, only it's just in a fully controlled environment. The next thing that we have is I'm going to reveal the top end, and it gets a little busy, this slide, no doubt. But we came out with a brand new set of endpoint routers and ISR routers. And essentially what these routers are, they're very intelligent. It's like a mini data center, and it's about the size of 2 Domino pizza boxes. It's amazing. And what they do, you would plug them in, zero-touch deployment, and what happens is the base system, the on-prem cloud, just takes control of the endpoint and loads up the configurations. So if you notice, data center, core networking, access, cyber, data center, core networking, access, cyber, it's the same exact configuration. We created a symbiotic architecture where the definitions that you would define on the private cloud then become part of the extension of the outer branch offices. And then it just propagates. So now you have full line of sight on your entire infrastructure, security updates, wireless and wired. People bring your own device to work, all controlled within this environment. The next thing we have is we would then put applications at the edge. If you have an area like that scenario I was mentioning earlier in California where we have the earthquakes, why not put the first notice of loss application out at the edge? And so you can expand that way. So you could do it one way within the cloud, or you could do it at the endpoints of your own network. You have another, let's say, office writing a lot of wealth management capabilities, and so we could push that application out. And then we have another that just needs general agency management capabilities. So the idea is we're programming the network, we're programming the data centers, we're creating policies that is managing the whole system. Before, the IT would typically have to create a business plan, get with the IT director of the data center, order equipment, latency. All this time goes by. This architecture provides the scalability, security, and deployment capability near real time. This is an interesting capability, which is now the networks themselves are intelligent to program the data traffic. And we have customers looking at IWIN, which is the Internet Wide Area Network capabilities. And essentially, you can start to control where you want your business traffic to go through the Internet or through the lease lines. We have a customer that actually replaced all the edge devices in their network, and within 14 months, it paid for itself just in intelligent routing. And essentially what this means is, let's say we're talking about an agency that's using Azure, or they're using Salesforce for a learning tool, or they're using Amazon to do actuarial calculations. What we could do is we could tell this router up here, hey, send this internet traffic not back to the home office through these more expensive lease lines, but through the internet. Then we can get to Salesforce, and we can get to Amazon, and we can lastly get to Cisco services for collaboration and video. So as you can see, it's pretty complex, but the power that it delivers is unbelievably exciting because it gives the IT department the ability to say yes to the business.
And oftentimes, lines of business do get where the industry is going, and they want to get there. But how do we roadmap and get there with the siloed infrastructure, the siloed functions, the legacy infrastructure that we have? And I know it's exciting for you because I've seen you speak to it passionately, but the fact that you can say yes and quicker is exciting to me from a line of business standpoint. And we haven't even touched on the Internet of Everything. So it will help you to know that we're not going to try to touch on that. We're actually going to briefly set the stage for a great session that our peer Jeff Tempowski is going to lead on Thursday, which is a roundtable discussion on the Internet of Everything and the impact on insurance. But as a teaser for that, I wanted to just point out that as complicated as we have the scenarios we just looked at, as much change as we have coming across the industry, we all know we're basically at the tip of the iceberg. 99% of the things in the physical world that could be connected are still not connected. And so as these things, people, data, things, machine to machine start to connect, it's going to continue to change the game. One place that we see this playing out for sure is in the connected car. This is a story that I think is really going to be interesting to watch unfold because we've gone from a line of business that for years was increasing in premium and revenue to one now that is decreasing and projected to decrease as much as 20%, depending on who you're looking at. So that's a base product line driving down revenue because of accident avoidance, because of more sophisticated pricing through telematics and UBI. And what happens to insurance when the person that's insured is no longer driving the car and the cars don't wreck?
Next is, I think, a really interesting area for the insurance industry is connected homes and smart homes. There's a company called Smart Things that we've actually had some affiliations with, I would just say lightly. And basically what smart homes are is it's putting sensors on things. Your front doors, your windows, motion detectors, video, humidity sensors are big now, where you could sense levels of various water damage and then turn off the main, the water main. And so if you think about what an insurance company could do in terms of saying, well, if you have these 5 or 6 key sensors in your home and it's monitored by a monitoring service, we'll give you a 10% discount on your homeowner 3 policy, things like that. And so that's one lens. Think about the broader implications of that, though. Imagine 1 million homes in the Midwest having these sensors. Imagine a tornado touching down in this Midwest. And imagine these sensors then are collecting a swarm of information real time, lifting it up, and then bringing it into the cloud to deploy that information as action to homeowners to get out of, Dodge, so to speak, or hailstorms coming down in vehicles and sensing. All of these kinds of things. This is where technology becomes proactive, helping to mitigate the damage.
With what we've set the stage for, we can say that pace and magnitude of change is hitting the insurance industry in a way that we've never seen before, and it's only just begun. So we got to be ready. We have to be thinking about today, but also be preparing for tomorrow, making no regret decisions that allow us the agility to be ready for tomorrow because it's coming fast. This is a customer and competition-driven evolution, and so your point on we got to start thinking demand versus what we want to offer. And now more than ever, I mean, we've seen some of the analyst numbers that more and more IT investment is being driven by the line of business. I would go back to my point of it's not line of business or IT, it's line of business and IT, working very closely together to make smart investments that enable business outcomes that then provide the measurable results and realization that we need. Increased revenue, better retention, cross-sell, efficiencies in driving down costs through business processes, not TCO, right? So this is beyond a TCO discussion. This is about enabling the business. And at Cisco and our business transformation team, this is what we're all about. Don and I and Jeff are committed to the insurance vertical, so we are knee-deep, more than knee-deep. We are deep in insurance, and we want to partner with you to help understand your business imperatives and how we can help deliver those. Don, anything else?
well, to borrow from a presidential campaign, yes, we can. And, and I truly see that this technology is completing the bridge between business and technology, and we can really tackle new projects much faster and experiment, more experimentation and what if in the business, and IT providing that, in which I'm very passionate about, as you could tell. Thank you.
Excellent.